question in the world of the mind. Um, I don't know if I'm strange, but I think most people are like that. We spend a lot of our energy in our life thinking about the other sex and sexuality and all that stuff. I would like to hear something about this.
Nothing strange about it, it's just that your intelligence has been hijacked by your hormones. It's not you, it is just compulsive behavior, isn't it? When you were a child, it didn't matter what reproductive organs a man or somebody carries, didn't matter to you. The moment the hormone started playing within you, now you can't think of the world beyond that. Your whole intelligence has been completely hijacked by your hormones. And you will see beyond a certain age, when this hormone, the play of hormones goes down, once again it doesn't matter and you look back and say, you can't believe you were the one who were doing all that. Body knows only one thing: survival, procreation. It doesn't know anything else, isn't it so? Does your body know anything else? So if you go by the way of the body, some pleasure may come to you, not that it won't, nothing wrong with the body, it's just limited, that's all. Nothing wrong being limited, but it's not the ultimate, that's all. Is it anything wrong? Is it a crime to be limited? It's not a crime, nothing wrong about it, but you will always live an unfulfilled life, that's all. No matter what you have, how much you have, you will still live an unfulfilled life. Now you are thinking about the opposite sex all the time. Let's say tomorrow I'll grant you a boon. All the women in the world are after you. You will see, you will still live an unfulfilled life. Yes? You will still live an unfulfilled life. So definitely it's not going to get you beyond the bar. It will make you, maybe a pleasant little bit of pleasure, little bit of pain will happen. Nothing wrong at all with it. I'm not trying to make it dirty, make it something else. No, it is fine, it's perfectly fine. But you will live within the ambit of the body. If you live within the ambit of the body, body knows only survival and procreation, it doesn't know anything else. And body, every moment of your life, no matter where you think you're going, you think you went up the mountain, you came down the mountain, body doesn't know all that. Body is straight walking to the grave, every moment, nowhere else. Isn't it so? You think you're going to many places, you think I've come to India, I'll go back to Lebanon, I went up the mountain, I came down the mountain. No such thing. Every step, body is only walking straight to the grave, nowhere else but the grave. So, right now, because you're young, because of the play of hormones, you've forgotten that. Slowly, as time passes, it becomes more… it will become more and more apparent that it is walking towards the grave. If all that you have known is just the body, and anyway you're going to lose the whole of it, fear becomes just the way to live. Recently, I don't know, probably you didn't see the news or anything. 4 or 5 days ago, George Best died. You know George Best? You heard of him? He was one of the greatest footballers, he died. He died before the Holiness program? Oh, okay, I'm sorry. He died just before the Holiness program. I was just seeing a little bit of clippings on him. This guy, his name is Best. He was a great footballer, very natural footballer, okay? And he went out, all out to live his life. The way they described him was, every film star, every popular film star or model or something else they said, somebody else, huh? Not celebrity. He had them on his arm at some time or the other. Sometimes he had all the three on his arm. But by the time he passed his 35, he was such a broken, miserable man. He's such a broken, miserable, frustrated man. At the age of 56 or 57, he died. Death is not the issue, but the way you live is the issue, isn't it? He lived a terrible life. He had everything at him because the way of the body. If you try to make the limited the unlimited, you will suffer. There is no other way. The body's ways are very limited. If you try to make it the everything, you will suffer like anything. So you don't make it all, you bring in a little bit of emotion, little bit of mind, little bit of society and try to manage it somehow. But it doesn't matter what you do. If you are sincere with your life, you will see you're still living an unfulfilled life, isn't it? So nothing wrong with the body, nothing wrong with the ways of the body. It is just very limited. It can only play that much role in your life. If you try to stretch it to all your life, you will suffer because you are trying to create falsehood. The truth of life is, body has to play only that much role in your life. Now you are trying to stretch it all over, you will definitely bring suffering to yourself. Suffering will come in a million different ways. People who think they are just perfect, nothing will ever happen to him, such people you will see after some time what will happen to them. Life has its ways to bend you and break you and knead you and grind you in a million different ways. In most unexpected ways it'll do it to you. Yes? Have you seen it happening to people around you? So, nothing wrong with your hormones, but it's compulsive. Once you live a compulsive life, you're living the life of a slave, isn't it? Yes? Do you want to be a slave? Something within you never wants to be a slave, isn't it so? There is something within you which cannot be a slave. Whether you are a slave to something or somebody or whatever, but once you are a slave, unknowingly, slowly you'll become a long face. When you were a child, you were like this, because there was not so much slavery. Slowly, as different kind of compulsions take over, without knowing why, everything is going on fine with your life. Your business is going fine, your family is good, you have good relationships, you're making money, everything, but slowly, face is becoming longer and longer. You're doing desperate acts to be happy. As people get richer and older, you will see they start doing more and more desperate things to be happy, isn't it so? Yes? Huh? Oh, you have not seen the things they do on the planet. Forget about going to the moon. So, the more desperation comes because you're trying to make a small aspect of your life everything. It'll not work. And today especially, the culture is becoming like this, especially the Western cultures have made body into everything. Suffering is untold, please see, for no reason they're suffering. Everything is well, physically everything is well. You can't think of more arrangement physically, everything is well arranged. Healthcare, insurance, cars, everybody's got everything to do, but people are suffering immensely, where almost every second, third person is on some kind of medication just to maintain mental balance. That's not joy. Yes? Where you have to take a tablet every day to remain sane is not joyfulness, isn't it? Definitely you're on the verge of breaking down every day because you made a small aspect of your life the whole of life, that's all. Life is just taking its toll, nothing else. So don't go that way. Everything has to play that much role in your life, that's all. If you try to make it the whole, it'll not work. Please spread it around, don't give it in one place.
Sadhguru, yesterday you were talking about we all came from nothing to this, nothing to something. Because there is something, nothing, something happened. And you are also talking about creative forces like creative force, maintenance force, and destructive force. And you gave a nice analogy of electron, proton, and neutron. And all these three forces you said, Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwara. then all, when you connect these things, quantum mechanics or whatever, it makes sense. Yes, this is true. It appears to be true. But when we hear the stories, this Shiva and somebody is sending something to do, and Shiva is practicing this yoga, and I'm lost because up to that part I'm okay. Yes, this makes sense. But what are all these stories?
It's history, it's not stories. See, because you have distorted the image of Shiva in your mind, you got a problem. He was just a yogi. In yoga, Shiva is not seen as a god, he is seen as the first yogi, Adi Yogi. Do you have one of the t-shirts, Adi Yogi? Nobody has? Please listen. Now, suppose, for example, just 60 years ago, Mahatma Gandhi was here. Mahatma Gandhi is a man, isn't it? But never before in the world, another country or another man has managed this, that they were managed to send the conquerors out of their country without killing them or threatening them or blowing them to bits or whatever. Just peaceful satyagraha. Have you ever heard of such a nonsense? Now I'm telling you, you are very close to history. So you believe because your father is telling the story. I'm telling you, after 1,000 years, if somebody tells the story of Mahatma Gandhi, it's all pure nonsense. Till now we are okay, but now you're talking such nonsense, we won't believe you, they will say. Yes or no? Already people don't believe. Do you know this? Just one generation has passed, already a lot of people don't believe it. They think the whole thing was just nonsense. How can it happen like that? But it actually happened. Millions and millions of people have witnessed it with their eyes, isn't it? Even when they were beaten, when their skulls were cracked, they didn't hit back, they just stood there. People witnessed this, isn't it? Yes or no? But I'm telling you, after 500 years, 1,000 years, if you tell this story, nobody is going to believe it. I told you, this is a dialectical culture. People express everything in the form of stories, everything in the form of symbolism, because that's the nearest way they can bring you to understanding. Now, you're trying to dissect two things at the same time with the same knife, it doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that. That is a different aspect, this is a different aspect. This needs to be seen and experienced one way, that needs to be seen and experienced in a different way. What is ultimate and what is immediate is very different. When you talk about the ultimate, it's a different dimension. When you talk about the immediate reality, it's a different dimension altogether. So if you don't know the distinction, it is not a question of confusion, it is just total misunderstanding of life. Because just because you have a little intellect, you think it is capable of grasping everything? It is not so. Let me tell you a story. Now you think you're very logical. Let me tell you the predicament of the person who is known as the father of modern logic. Do you know who he is? Then what's the point your logic? You know who is the father of modern logic? Aristotle, you know. Aristotle is known as the father of modern logic. His logic is just perfect. His logic is like this, you will like this. What's your name? Huh? Aristotle? Oh, I'm sorry. You also carry Shiva's name. Aristotle's logic is like this. A can only be A. A cannot be B. B can only be B. B cannot be A. Did we go through this? No? Is it perfect logic, Jagadish? You agree? A can only be A. Can A be B? No. Can B be A? No. A can only be A, B can only be B. This is perfect logic. This is Aristotelian logic. Now you're sitting here. Are you a man or a woman? If you go by the logic, you can only be this or that, isn't it? But what is the reality of life? Both the dimensions are there within you. Just a question of percentages, isn't it? That's how life is operating. That's not how logic is operating. Anyway, let's look at Aristotle's life. Extremely logical man, intellectually brilliant, no question about that. But tried to stretch logic to all aspects of life. And in many ways he was a cripple. One thing is, Aristotle's body never developed to its normal size. He was abnormally thin. So because of this, he used to wear 3 dresses, one over the other, just to make himself look presentable. See, if you're abnormally thin and you don't care, that's different. But if a man has to wear 3 clothes or 3 dresses, one on top of the other, that's not a good state of mind, isn't it so? Yes? That's not a good state of mind. This is how he was. One day, Aristotle was walking in the beach. A glorious sunset was happening. But Aristotle has no time for such petty things which happen every day. He's seriously thinking about some great problem of the existence. Because for a fool like Aristotle, existence is a problem, it's not a joy. And he believes he's going to solve it. So seriously thinking, he's walking up and down the beach. There's another man on the beach who is doing something very intensely. He is doing it so intensely that even Aristotle could not ignore him. You know, all these stupid people who can think a little bit, who are thinking too much about their own nonsense, they are people who ignore life around them. They are the people who don't have to smile at anybody in the world, they don't even have to look at everybody, they cannot go like this on the street, like they're practicing to go, for their funeral. Do you see such people? Because they think they're intellectual, they think they can ignore all the life around them. They have no eyes to look at a flower, they have no eyes to look at a sunset, they have no eyes to look at a child or a smiling face or even an unsmiling face to make it smile. They have no such small duties in the world or small responsibilities in the world or small cares in the world. They are all out there solving the problems of the existence. But you can't ignore this man because he's doing something so intensely. Then Aristotle noticed what he's doing. This man is going to the sea, ocean, coming back, going to the ocean, coming back, going to the ocean, coming back in great intensity. So Aristotle stopped and asked, "Hey, what are you doing?" That man said, "Don't disturb me, I'm doing something very important," and went on and on. Then Aristotle became even more curious and asked, "What are you doing?" That man said, "Don't disturb me, something very important." He said, "What is this important thing?" Then he said, he had a little hole in the beach and he said, "I'm emptying the ocean into this hole." And he has a tablespoon in his hands. Aristotle looked at this and laughed. A man like Aristotle cannot laugh on a daily basis, They cannot laugh, isn't it? You meet them every day or no? Or you are them? How many of you spend one whole 24 hours without even a little bit of laughter? Okay, don't raise your hands. Aristotle is the kind who can spend a year without a single moment of laughter because he is intellect, It takes a heart to laugh. Intellect cannot laugh, it can only dissect everything. Aristotle laughed and said, "This is ridiculous. You must be insane. Do you know how vast this ocean is? How can you ever empty this ocean into this little hole? And that too with a tablespoon? At least if you have a bucket, some chance. Please give this up. This is madness, I'm telling you." That man looked at Aristotle, threw the spoon down and said, "My job is already finished." Said, what do you mean it's finished? Even the hole is not full. Forget about ocean being empty, even the hole is not full. How can you say your job is finished? That man was Heraclitus. Heraclitus stood up and said, "I am trying to empty this ocean into this hole with a tablespoon. You are telling me it's ridiculous, it's madness to give it up. What are you trying to do? Do you know how vast this existence is? It can contain 1 billion oceans like this and more. And you are trying to empty it into the small hole of your head with what? With tablespoons called thoughts. Please give it up. It's very ridiculous. Because if you want to know the experiential dimensions of life, you will never know it with your petty thought. I'm calling your thought petty because it doesn't matter how you can think, it is still petty. You understand? If you have an Einstein's brain, it is still a petty thought. Because thought cannot be bigger than that. Thought can only be logical, functioning between two polarities. That's too small. If you want to know life in its immensity, you need something more than your thoughts, something more than your logic, something more than your intellect. Only if you open up that dimension, you will taste life in its larger proportion. Otherwise, you will know only the physicality of life. With thought, you will not penetrate anything other than the physical. You can know the physical, you can use the physical. Because the world has given so much significance to Aristotle and his tribe, all the sciences have developed in the physical dimension. With this, much comfort has come, much convenience has come. I know you're all too thrilled about what your computer can do, what your internet can do, but it's not done anything to your life if you really look at it. Yes? It's brought comfort and convenience. Greed, endless greed, but it has not brought any joy to you ultimately. It is not taken you to any higher dimension of experience or existence. You are in the same place. Instead of riding a bullock cart, maybe you're… where's that Mercedes man? Okay. Maybe you're driving a Mercedes or dreaming a Mercedes, whichever way. But still only moving from point A to point B, isn't it? You have not gone to another point. Whether you fly a jet plane or a bullock cart or this or that, only point A to point B, only lateral movement, isn't it? Even if you take a spacecraft, still point A to point B, no new dimension has occurred to you, in spite of all this exploration, because the instruments of exploration that you are using are too limited, that's all. I appreciate the enthusiasm, but the instruments of exploration are just logical and intellectual, so there is no way you will touch any other dimension of life. It's not possible. It's like you're trying to go to the moon with a bullock cart. It doesn't matter how hard you beat the bulls, it's not going to get there. It's not going to get there. If you beat the bulls really hard, maybe we can climb the mountain on a bullock cart, but you can't go to the moon. Do you still believe you can? Try hard. Some more frustration has to happen before you open up the other possibility. Either you learn out of your intelligence, or life will maul you and teach you a lesson slowly. Choice is yours.